IKONINI. So kuna stories kadhaa zimehappen this past weekend, and one of the stories ile ilikuwa na make headlines, of course, ilikuwa ni Kasmuel Makoure alienda hapa amejoin ODM. And hii story ya Kasmuel ni interesting because it depends with who you're talking to, because personally, if you ask me, is this like one of those things that needs to make people hate Kasmuel? I don't think so. I feel like joining a political party iko na advantages zake, and I'll be talking about that. But yes, so Kasmuel mwenyewe ndiye alienda hapa post the video on his Instagram aki-announce,
ODM is the party of the future, and the future of ODM is in the hands of our young people, our Gen Zs, our Gen Alphas, the ones who are coming up. That is why we want strong involvement of young, brilliant young people with a bright future like Makoure.
Behooves everyone who's of sound mind that we will go out in an outreach like never before. We will register not only the educated, but the people who are uneducated, the people who are in the technical institutions, and ensure that this is the party. If we look at the struggle that we've had,
to come into the party strongly, bring in other comrades, not just comrades, bring in young people of all walks of life and take over the party. This is the party of the future, and you are the future.
This is the party. Actually, every Kenyan is an ODM member just by virtue. That's why we will go on a vigorous mass registration of the young people to bring them in the party of the present and of the future. Thank you.
So mencheki, so ilikuwa basically Makoure akituambia kuwa amejoin ODM, alafu akasema vile ODM ni the party of the future na vitu kama hizo, and it comes back to kitu nilikuwa nasema. So after hii kutokea, of course, wase wengi wamesema vile ni sell out na vitu kama hizo. But naogopa saa hizi kuna wase wana go through the liberal facial states. Liberal facial states ni ile ya superior to everyone else. Kuna kitu moja Makoure amesema hapo very interesting. Amesema that wataenda on this drive, and during this drive wata register the literate and the illiterate. So the illiterate is a very important component of Kenyan politics. That's why even as we move forward, yes, Makoure amejoin ODM, which you might not like ODM. Me personally najaga vile naitagasa ODM, kuna maclowns kibao sana, kina Kaluma, kina watu sasa all of a sudden wanatuambia lazima tu support Ruto na cheki kwa wamejoin ODM. So kuna hiyo ujinga. The only thing siku against ni activist kuwa line na political parties, cause kuna this fantasy world ile waswako nayo, ile msee za come from nowhere abaki ameshinda the Kenyan presidency. Hawezi shinda the Kenyan presidency without machinery ya funds. You need funds, na zile funds wasa nafikiria ati nitatumia msee so mbili kwa simu itamsaidia. Yo so mbili haiwezi saidia on the grand scale ya vile unakuwa hapa na nani. Tulikuwa na Jalasa alikuwa na bonga jua vile ungepata one day wameenda place ka 5, wamekuwa Garissa, wakatoka Garissa wakaenda Eldoret, wakatoka Eldoret. Hizo ni helicopter. How much is a helicopter nini? So kuna hiyo nini. So yeah, amejoin ODM. This might be his end, cause don't forget a lot of people wale walikuwa namfuata ni waswako woke, and wokeness umecheki ile kitu ilifanya states. Ukikuwa woke, don't be too woke. So by that kile namaanisha ni as we approach 2027, lazima tujue that lazima tutawork with some of these politicians. Mi vile nimekuwa nikisema 2027 kutakuwa na vote ya Ruto versus whoever the fuck, na mimi personally nitapatia whoever the fuck, cause staki stories za Ruto. Sasa mse kama Makoure sijui, cause unajua ODM wako na gava kwa the same place, so sijui what's going to happen, but I respect the fact that ameamua kujoin a political party. But what does this mean for him? Place kama ODM, of course it means the only way to become an MP or an MCA or anything is to be nominated. Otherwise hiyo party hata sijidanganye anaenda kupata any seat. If like wanasema he wants to run for electoral seat. So unless Raila amwe kumreward, because Raila has been known to do some crazy stuff. Vile alienda pampatia Crystal Asige, that was really good. Raila pia alikuwa the first person kupatia kamsa anaitwa nani, Isaac Mwaura. And yeah, so your party yake inajulikana for giving people. So maybe wanaweza more it's time to give a Gen Z, a vocal Gen Z. But him, probability of getting a nomination, that's 0. And now still tukistick na Kenyan politics, kuna video fulani pia nilibaki nimecheki ile ilikuwa disturbing sana. Hii video inasemekana ni kutoka kwa MP wa Tharaka. And Tharaka, I don't know what's happening in Tharaka, but it seems like there is hunger or something. So kulikuwa na food drive na umse alikuwa anapatia na cabbage. Alafu one of the things that you can actually hear ni as he passes the cabbage, at some point unasikia wanasema sijui wanaume tokeni, it's time kupatia wanawake. It's some very dehumanizing stuff, ama some very what can I say, like I don't know if it's dehumanizing, but ni vitu ya kuhaibisha. Yani was try kuimagine like dignity ya say like umepanga line mpatiwe cabbage, alafu mnaambwa tokeni wa mother akuje
Aya, kata hiyo laini ya wanaume. Kata laini ya wanaume. Wanawake waendelee. Kata laini. Ali. Asimamishe. Kuita wa mama.
So this is the level of poverty tuna deal nayo. Wacheki kuna buda fulani hapo umeona akipita and you can see he's limping, he's what. So these people, if you come to 2027, you might find them still voting for this guy, and the reason why they vote for him is they live in such abject poverty that maybe cabbage amwapatia they don't eat it for some time. So they are not sure of the next meal, so they'll remember this guy and they'll be like, you know what, he might not be perfect, but at least he gave me food. And this is the reason why Kenyan politicians enjoy poverty, because poverty leaves people believing that you are some sort of savior. Poverty makes you not question stuff. Like ukiangaliaga these developed countries, politicians even get like au chapwa, najua inakuaga like ni rough kabisa, haikuagi nini, alafu au kuaga held accountable. So unapata kitu kama US election ilipita last week. But like one of the things ilikuwa ina happen was walikuwa wanasema like economy ilikuwa inadu vibaya. So since economy ilikuwa inadu vibaya, time ya nyinyi kuishia jo. Tumetry kureason na nyinyi lakini hamjatusikia. So ishieni. And that's the reason why ukiangalia hata hiyo map ya states, uta notice like a lot of counties apart from states, yani like most states of course zilikuwa red than blue, na pia the counties themselves like watu walikuwa red because people just wanted change, and to them Donald Trump represented that change. So the same way maybe whoever is going to run against Ruto will represent the change that I want. But kitu moja ile siwezi taka ni unaweza pata kwa hiyo video, I didn't go into the comments, but akuwezi kosa that one Kenyan ule ana dismiss say like kwa nini mnaenda kuchukua hizi vitu nini. But poverty iko real kabisa hapa Kenya, and very few people are working actively to finish it, and the politicians enjoy it because as long as it exists, it means tribal politics will exist, and it means politics ya like a grand corruption it exists. Kuzata tukitoka kwa hiyo story, wacha tuangalie story ingine ile nicheki kwa paper, and I think hizi two articles, I think hizo toka kwa Nation, and I'm starting to get annoyed now the nations of this world and the standards and the whatever, because at some point you have to start naming these things. Unless it's not a true story, then don't publish it, but if it's a true story we need names. So kulikuwa na history ya airport cash scandal. Boss saves the day. A senior county official from Western Kenya was this week nabbed at the airport with stacks of undeclared cash he could barely explain. Realizing the anti-corruption team was hot on his heels, the jittery official quickly dialed his boss, the real owner of the loot, to spill the beans and beg for rescue. Now here is where it gets interesting. Some helpful officers suggested that he part with a 40% tip to make the problem disappear. But it turns out the boss, a Nairobi bigwig in dire need of an emergency petty cash refill, wasn't about to lose a single shilling. A higher power intervened and voila, the official strolled out with every coin intact. This is what I'm talking about. This is taxpayers' money, and taxpayers' money, ukisikia ina move you in cash, it means it's being stolen. And nation needs to name these people. We can't have a situation whereby we don't know who this was, and this is in a national newspaper. This is like accepting corruption. Unacheki like tumekubali corruption ikue, and this is the reason why now you end up seeing situations kama hiyo ilolicheki hapo, where you have like unacheki you have people who are like in so much poverty that anything that they get they dignify it, and anything that they get ends up costing them their vote, and that means that there'll never be change in this country. So hapa nafeel kama hii newspaper ilibaki imetuangusha. Tunemie, let's know like who is this and why were they moving this money. If the story is true, ule mtu ameripota kwambia ilikuwa this blah blah blah, and then do your own investigations. Was this county whatever western person hapa Nairobi? Yes, alimit na huu mtu. Hizo vitu zote tubaki tumejua. But yeah, those are a few of the things zile nimekuwa nikifuatilia hii weekendi. Yeah, na tutaendelea kufanya hizi story zile za kukwambia like like a few things, because one of the things of course pia I guess nikimalizia hii mambo, one of the things pia nilicheki ni Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi, according to me, he really wants Ruto to pay, and so far Rigathi kile alibaki amesema this was Rigathi on Sunday alikuwa na encourage Gen Z wabaki wameregister as voters, and tunajua akitumia Gen Z anamaanisha anti-Ruto, so alikuwa I want to ask the Gen Zs to register as voters, former DP Rigathi Gachagua, and this is very important. Ndio nimekuwa nikisema tuna need to have a drive called Occupy a polling station, and Occupy a polling station ni Occupy a registration center. Yes, nisiget twisted. Occupy a registration center inamaanisha as soon as IEBC metuambia it's time to register, we need to make sure as many people as possible register. Yes, and then after watu washa register, the next step is making sure that people vote, that on that day you vote. Usianze na hii mambo ya I don't see a difference between these two. Hiyo ni ujinga. There's always a difference, na tumezoea hii ujinga. Tukisema vitu kama hizo watu wanaenda hapo wametuneni. So this is what's going to happen. There are nothing lazima to learn from American politics is don't believe the polls. As we approach 2027, polls zitakuwa zikikwambia either Ruto anashinda, ama kuna polls zinaweza kuambia Ruto anashindwa. Shida ya polls zinakwambia ati nani Ruto anashindwa ni utapata kuna a lot of people wale watavotia Ruto, but they'll be ashamed of saying they'll vote for Ruto. Tutamza ni aje budo unaenda kuvotia nani? Mimi naenda kuvotia nani? Na kumbe anaenda kuvotia Ruto. People are always ashamed of someone who they think is a mistake. So place kama states kusema una support Trump was not a cool thing. So a lot of people are saying they don't support Trump, while deep down walikuwa na support Trump. So tusiamini polls, make sure tumetokea jo. So yeah, Rigathi Gachagua ametuambia to register as voters. So who nini? Yeah. Alafu last but not least ubuda anaitwa Atwoli. Atwoli alikuwa ameshare picha yake akitoka majuu, and alikuwa kwa plane, and on the plane of course he was flying first class. So and as he flies first class, any like chairman wa KOTU basically ni workers, and it's the poor workers that pay for those expensive trips. So don't be surprised that this guy has asked for yeye alikuwa nasema kuwa we need to change the constitution, ndio tubaki tume accommodate politicians and all that nonsense. So msika unakumbuka ile time ya vile alikuwa nafikiria that Raila was going to be helped by the deep state, kwa vile alikuwa na dismiss Ruto. Saizi he's one of the biggest Ruto supporters. So alikuwa ameandika help us change the constitution to tame people running to court. So this is him sucking up to Ruto, because he knows that if Ruto was to decide that Atwoli has to leave KOTU, he'd leave KOTU. So now he's trying to guard his position. But as he guards his position, what's happening? The poor workers are paying for hizo matrip zake. Umsewaga na nini? Ye utembea na mawatch za over 5 million shillings. Ana fly first class. Yuko na gari, I think Benz yake, I think inakuwa over 35 million shillings. So this is the nonsense that we are dealing with. But yeah, that's it is what it is. Ikonini.